Happens sometimes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but all good. We're here now, and we can
We're
just
here.
action packed all the way through. So that'll be fun.
Yes, exactly.
Got a great guest today, and there's a lot happening on the Superchain too. Yeah,
There was a ton happening. I'm just going to make sure that this is in all the places that it needs to be.
sure.
But
You want to kick us off with anything?
Yeah, quick intros. Let's do what is this show? Why are we here?
Well, this is the Superchain Spotlight. It became apparent that there's just so much happening in this space. Even whether it's bearish or bullish or all the animals are running amok, there's still progress being made. And so we said we need a way to recap stuff for people. We need a way to kind of break it down. And this shows a good blend between. I try not to be too technical, but I'm a developer, builder, whatever you want to call it. And Rachel,
I am not.
We build together, but the code stuff I do, and we've got a balance between the two of us, and hopefully it's palatable for folks to kind of stay up in the know of all that's going down.
That's right. So essentially, you have a translator who doesn't speak dev but has the wonderful Brock,
and vice versa. Yeah,
and you don't speak human.
I mean, I'm from space, so
there is that. There is that.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. This is episode 11 of the Superchain Spotlight. Yes, we can count now.
It's or 23. It just depends. You can watch them in any order. They're all bottle episodes. So have fun.
I'm gonna just talk about my hat of the day today. This is my GM hat. This is a highly coveted timepieces hat that folks have been trying to get their hands on. But this is an OG. This goes back to early Web3 days. So gotta represent the timepieces. They had some big news. This is not Superchain related news, but I think we should talk about it. So yesterday, Time announced a partnership with Fox to bring verifiable blockchain journalism to the people. Yes,
that's awesome.
So
that's
big
something
news
you and I have been talking about too. That's really cool.
It is. And so on Monday's show, on the Timepieces show, we're going to have somebody from Time and we're going to have somebody from Fox to kind of break that down for us. Wish they'd done it on the Superchain, not gonna lie.
I mean, there's still time.
It was on Polygon, but we've
you can. I'm not gonna say it's a mistake, but
but it's a mistake.
Just always do whatever you would like. No, I think all blockchains are have their pros and their cons, but I do think like Basis is definitely where I've kind of planted roots in the greater Superchain. So. Yeah, there's lots of like in non-Superchain, but just greater ecosystem space. Like in addition to that, the SEC came back and said Ethereum is not a security. So that's always good to know. I thought we were good, but then we weren't. But now we're back.
Are we calling it the SEC now? Is this the way we're rolling? The SEC is now the SEC. I like it.
I don't like it. Remember, but yeah, the SEC, SEC, whatever you want to call it.
Let me read the headline of it, or just a quick summary of it so folks know what we're talking about. So U.S. SEC closes investigation into Ethereum, marking a major win for the industry. In a landmark decision, Consensus Software, Inc. announced that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, has closed its investigation. This outcome is hailed as a significant victory for the blockchain industry, indicating that the SEC will not bring charges alleging that sales of ETH are security transactions.
Yes. And it sets the stage, I think, for more things, but it gives us a little bit more stable footing so that we can keep on like we've been. So, yeah.
Yep.
You want to get into Superchain stuff? Because there's a lot.
Let's do it, because there is a lot. What do you what's kind of the headline in this this little group today for you?
Today, with Superchain in general, I think today the alt DA goes live. If you're not familiar with that, it's alternative data availability. And so without getting into like the technical weeds, like blockchains, every time we do a chain, like it's taking the whole thing and keeping a copy here, a whole thing and keeping a copy there, and it's really like bogging down things. It's almost like anytime you want to do something, you have to keep an account of like everyone's 7-year taxes or what. Like, it just, if you put it into those kind of perspectives, it seems ridiculous in like what we're kind of doing. And so there is an alternative that's going live today on Superchain. You can get into the weeds if you want on the technical side of like what they're doing. However, the biggest takeaway is really just that like things are now cheaper. Like in the way of like once this kind of goes and rolls out everywhere, it could be up to like 100x cheaper. So just again, like, I feel like just in January or so, we did like, it's now way cheaper. And then it's like, it's way cheaper. And now it's like, yet again, like way cheaper. And so I think it's getting to the point where, and again, there's still gas, but it's getting to the point where you can do so much with even just a couple dollars of gas, which I think is the way that it should be, because it really empowers folks at like kind of all levels of experiencing the blockchain. So huge win for everybody. We all kind of get the value out of it, but just great work for all the folks that have been collaborating on that for so long, because it's a big deal for us. And again, maybe don't get into the technical stuff, but yeah, it's cheaper now because of a lot of hard work from individuals. So
we are going to drop some links once we have them from the OP team. We're going to drop them right under this video. I think it was.
I don't know if it's live like right now, but like it's today for sure. So I
think it was going live at 11, so we should have some docs soon that we can.
We did. We kicked it off.
We did.
Yeah.
Breaking news.
It's good to have that, and just, again, it seems like every month we get something that maybe doesn't get the recognition that it deserves, but everybody benefits from it. So it's super cool to see that they're continuing to push forward and just make it great, make it super.
Yeah, we have like a stacked guest list through July of other Superchain clients that are just building amazing things, everything from like DeFi to gaming to solutions that are making it even easier and more cost effective for people to deploy on the Superchain. So we are really excited about that. And obviously today, in case you missed it, we have Jacek from Degen joining us at 11:30, which we're very excited about. And I will stop butchering his name and actually pronounce it the correct way. Jacek.
I will try my best, but I'm terrible with names, let alone names where letters make different sounds. So it is not on purpose. My brain just doesn't always do it. So apologies in advance.
Let's talk about, can we bust some FUD really quick? I just want to.
Sure, there's some like.
Hold on.
Where is
it? There it is.
Is it the FUD is the animated PFPs going away? Is that the FUD?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Yeah. So for a while, we saw a lot of glitchy PFPs on Farcaster, and the news broke yesterday that they will no longer be glitching. People be bitching that they're no longer glitching.
They were like, for the longest time you could do animated PFPs, and some people were super cool, like, yay, this is awesome. I can have it's another way to kind of express yourself and all that. So it's like a super cool feature. But I think there was some downsides, like as Farcaster continues to scale, and Warpcast specifically with the way that their app works. I think on Android, I'm on Android and I've never noticed anything, but it was like crashing some Android phones. And so that probably not the best experience for like a new user or
I know a solution for that, Brock.
What would it be? Upgrade your Android to another Android? No,
it would be just don't throw your Android in the round filing cabinet underneath your desk.
And then it suddenly works, or you're just saying get a new phone that's not an Android.
Don't have an Android. Sorry, haters. Yeah. Don't hate me.
I don't think that we need to go back to like this ancient war of one phone A or phone B. But yeah, so that was one of them. The other thing is I think it was just leading to some like slow and sluggish experiences, because your phone, or whether it's your phone or your desktop, you're having to like pull down all these animated things as you scroll. And so even once it appears on the screen once, it's kind of like, so removing that should lead to a snappier, better experience for all. And then the Android thing, I think they said, was just like, the fix is like way beyond what would make sense. And so just shutting it off now kind of primes us for like the next however many thousands and thousands of users to have a better experience. So like at the end of the day, it's the right call. I jokingly posted the only way now to move forward, like the only answer to this is just rapidly change your PFP so that it like animates as like stop animation. And so I've seen a lot of that. You're welcome. No, but I think there's other things, right? Like I think you could, instead of having some kind of like, let us pin, sorry, I'm spitballing features for us, but like let somebody have a pin cast on their profile, and then have some kind of animated GIF there or whatever, so that it's not hitting every time you appear on someone's feed. It's just if someone wants to see it, things like that. So I think there's trade-offs that we can make that can still have that kind of cool, show off something awesome, but then also not have it bog down the whole entire network and experience. So
very cool. So moving from PFPs to berries.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that.
You've been busy, first of all.
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of things, but also
before we even say Barry, let's just give a shout out to Board, because you, Brian Morris, and Board spent a very short amount of time and a massive amount of work creating Borg Trail. And it was just announced last week that Board was awarded a builder grant from Base for that. Yes. So shout out to this team for being amazing. And then you've doubled down and created another game. Tell us.
Well, so just you brought up Board, so I'm going to say that. But with Board and Oregon Trail, first of all, Board and the whole team, Brian's always great to work with, like super fun project. It's like a love letter to Oregon Trail. If you ever played that, it sounds like a dinosaur if I try and describe it, but just this is like a new take on that. And then while we released that, everyone was enjoying it, but there was some feedback of like the randomness, right? Like some people need choice as well. We were trying to keep it like very, very scaled down to where you don't have to decide anything, just keep moving or don't. And now that there's been a new update that just dropped Monday, kind of quiet, but then this morning we're being a little bit loud, that there's now an inventory system where you can pick up, you can open chests and you can get like curses or good items and like risk reward, and you can hold the item and use it when you want. And yeah, so it adds a whole bunch of, it feels like a new game because there's just a lot more things to do. And the cool thing is that it ties in with Cast Out, which is a game show that's kind of happening right now live on Farcaster, where the contestants are playing Oregon Trail today to see who can make the most progress and closest to Oregon. So it's cool that we were able to kick out a new update. We won an award, and now it's being used as part of like a game within a game type thing.
I saw that. That's really cool.
And then, yeah, yesterday we launched the Berry game. Berry's a token that's just kind of for fun, not financial advice. But there's a game there where you pick a berry and have to hold it for, digitally hold it for, right now it's 5 minutes. And if you hang on to it, you win a chunk of the prize pool. It funds the treasury, it burns. So it's like, because of the game, the token's now deflationary. So yeah, just a lot of cool, fun stuff. And it's a fun game. The leaderboards are kind of wild. People are like competing. There was one round, again, like it was like the fifth game in that went around over 100 times with people grabbing it. So it's been super cool to see all that activity on chain and stuff like that. So too.
On chain fun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We'll be talking a little bit more about some on chain fun, hopefully by next week. It's happening. What else? So we had berries, we had change of PFPs. We're also looking at Dracula. There was a big announcement from Dracula this week that they are now partnered with Zora, and that all videos, all content creation will actually be minted on chain. What's your take on this?
I think it's cool. I think it's a way of posting it and then having it also go right on chain. And just pushing more and more on chain stuff and making new layers of activity interaction, and to see a lot, like it'll be a spark of like video content that can be shared as NFTs, remembered forever, things like that. So yeah, I think it's really cool, and I could see a lot of layers being baked in for like racing to mint kind of things, because it might be a limited amount that can be minted, and if you mint it or you hold so many videos of a creator, they can reward you. Things like that. I think some of my friends that had dove in, I purposely kind of held back. I'm just not a huge content creator outside of this. Like, this show is enough for me. So, yeah, so I could see them using it, and then they would also say like it would be better if I could like reward my fans or the people that watch. And so in a way, they can mint those. Like by minting those, they now have a blockchain record of who has those tokens, and then they can interact and reward those folks. So I think it adds a lot of a better chance at growing community, as well as having these like moments kind of things that can be made. So it's exciting to see.
It's very exciting. Do we think that TikTok is quaking in its boots yet? Do you think?
I don't think yet. I think there's still a lot of features that are kind of missing so far, but I do think that it's growing more and more every day as like a healthy alternative. I think early days, like it was cool because it existed, but now I think this is the maturity time where like it's going to be growing and adding more features like this, and eventually if you get to a point where like, hey, it's a video platform that doesn't force people to sell things to appear in an algorithm and things like that. I think that's, and then also like for the case of if TikTok does get shut down, by having it built on Farcaster, if somehow like Dracula got shut down, that the social graph still exists, those followers still exist, and so alternatives can crop up even beyond that, where it's like it becomes almost unstoppable because of like the decentralized nature. So and it avoids that whole like, well, I built a huge following over here on TikTok, if it shuts down, it's gone, and I have to start at zero. If you start at zero on Farcaster though, and now it's with you forever for the future. So
it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes, big Web 2 kind of conglomerates to respond to this in real time. Like, what kind of response do you think we'll see? Do you think we'll see them introducing their own chains? Do you think we'll see like rewards, tipping, all that kind of activity that we're seeing now?
It would be cool. I do think that would be cool. I think things like the smart wallets, which I think is big, but still not utilized fully. I hope to see a lot more of it utilized from on-chain summer. But it's kind of like a shift in paradigm of where it uses a pass key on your phone instead of like a private key. And so it's, in a way, it's a little bit easier. And there's a bunch of like other like account type tools that can be built in. And so just removing friction. And so I do think that there could be something where both kind of paths are true. Path where like TikTok and other like Web 2 start to kind of embrace things where it's just like behind the scenes, everything's on chain, especially with all the upgrades that we're kind of getting continuously. And then also the alternative where Web 3 can go and start to like differentiate itself because it's own your own stuff. Like your audience are real people, know them, reward them, everybody wins together kind of thing. So I think that's true. And then I think also the hybrid of where TikTok, somebody start to draw, like if we could get floaties on TikTok in comments, right? Like now it's like, hey, I like your comment. Here's a tip. And then people are like, wait, what are these like emojis that you're dropping? And then they find out, oh my God, I have money waiting for me. Like that, I think will just continue to snowball. So I think it's the trident approach of all three paths would be interesting.
Can you explain for a noob who's like, what the heck's a floaty? Like don't go too deep for us, but let's talk about ham. Let's talk about, we obviously have Degen coming up, but what are floaties?
Floaties are just like a shorthand for tipping. So instead of typing in like an amount like Degen or what have you in a reply, you can just reply with one singular emoji and it has like a base value. And as long as you've approved kind of like a bucket of tips for yourself, then you're literally just throwing out tokens. You don't have to do a blockchain transaction. You don't have to approve anything. You pre-approve like a bucket of tips, and you can just go and spray everybody with emojis. You might have seen though, like where it's like 100x, like berry. So the berry token that we're talking about, they have a floaty. That now then multiplies whatever the base is amount. So if you wanted to do like 5,000, you do like 500x, whatever the base is. So like there's a little bit of math involved, but once you get the hang of it and you know what your bucket is, then you're on autopilot to just do like 100 here, 200 there. People will do for the memes like 420. So yeah, floaties are basically like shorthand tipping.
So essentially what we're saying, emojis have become currency and meme is communication.
On Farcaster, yes. And then we're teaching children math through floaties also.
Fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Explain it to your grandma, folks. Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. Grandma, I just sent you a floaty. I'm sure that will just be a perfect situation and exactly what you meant.
And we're spraying people with money. Look, I mean,
right.
This is
Grandma, the money gun hit me and I got rewarded, and then tons of people gave me floaties afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have our own language at all. It's very easy to understand this stuff.
NFA, folks, as always. Mm-hmm.
I'm not telling you to buy anything, but just like emojis or whatever. And then if you just run around doing emojis without the approved kind of bucket, you're just kind of like making people upset. So don't do that. But yeah.
Let's talk Superchain culture.
Sure.
Anybody who you wanted to shout out this week? Anybody who's doing something exciting? I wanted to definitely single out Ed Balloon again. Just what a phenomenal guest he was last week. And he is all heart and soul, but with this eye on innovation, and I just want to congratulate him on his drop. He did hit 250, so there's another announcement coming soon. So yeah, and we gave away a couple of his pieces on the Good News Show.
I still have 2 more, so we can do 2 more if we want. Yeah, because I bought 2. I think you bought some to give away.
I bought 2 and gave 2 away, and then I bought another one myself.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, I have 2 more to give away plus my 2. So like we're between us, we've got almost a baker's dozen somehow.
Party time.
Floaty math.
Maybe we should give it away on today's show.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll send it to whomever. You just let me know.
So if you're watching this on X, reshare this space and maybe tag somebody in the post. 1 person. That's it. Maybe we'll give you one.
Tag your secret admirer.
There you go.
Sharing love.
All right.
Shout out culture wise. The Berry folks have been just like pushing this game and super great to work with as well. I think that's the biggest piece of like, especially since jumping into Farcaster, is like everyone seems to just be chill and want to do cool stuff. And so this week it's been a lot of communication with them, seeing them kind of like, we did a Far House yesterday, and it was just a lot of people just swung by and met new people there. So I think it's Melissa Burr has been pushing this thing of social media is dead. That was kind of like the president, like, I'm presenting a thing to you, and now it's more social networking, which we've always like used the term, but now it's like it's building relationships instead of just like look at me. And I think that's more than true on Farcaster. And there's one feature I wanted to chat about real quick that has dropped. That is it's a pretty big change and could shift the culture.
Before you do, let me just like drill down on what you said about Melissa. Like she is, we had her on the show, you brought her in, and she's freaking awesome. And I every day I'm like, I'm going to go read Melissa's full posts because I know there's so much alpha in terms of like building community and audience, and I never get there because 10 other things come up. But if you are like looking to grow on Farcaster and you're looking to kind of build impactful community, go follow Melissa Burr because she knows what's up, and her follow account is
with a lot of R's.
A lot of R's, but she's been like crushing it.
My routine, literally, like I shut down my alpha friends because I just didn't feel like it was for me. Not that it's bad. It's just I was spread too thin of like I have a hyper sub and this, and so I doubled down on my hyper sub to instead, and then it sunsetted alpha friends. But part of my morning routine really is just waking up, looking at her alpha friends and just the gems and that she's just dropped for helping other people, looking at patterns, socializing like information and distilling down to like, okay, here's what it really means. And so the only reason I'm using alpha friends right now still is because of just her service that she's offering to everybody. So yeah, super cool.
All right, tell us about the feature.
Sorry, we're like 3 minutes before a guest. So narrow casting has come, and so I think a lot of folks, what's this big thing is a lot of folks will post, but then sometimes I just want to talk to this channel, I just want to talk to whatever, and so casting not only would go to that channel that you tagged it in, but also to your followers. So a lot of stuff will show up. And so if I only want to talk about ghost stories, just randomly, or recipes that deal with milk, whatever, like super hyper targeted niche, I would post it there, but then my whole follower list would also get peppered with that algorithm. If you switch it to a narrowcast, it does not amplify it out. And so you can have just these it's not a private conversation, but it's a channel, it's just with a channel. And so that you can avoid peppering your whole audience. And then the reverse is true, like know that you're peppering your whole audience with something that's less targeted and more global. And so by doing that, I think it keeps the focus to where you're actually going to get more interactions instead of you posting it to like a narrow space with the message that's going out. And then your larger audience that sees it doesn't interact with it because they're just not excited about that. And it almost like dings you in the algorithm. So this is a way of kind of having a little more control over where you're going instead of just shouting at the skies like a Twitter kind of would do, which you can still do, but you can also say like, hey guys, how's it going, and like have a conversation without telling the whole world too.
This is brilliant.
So it gives you that flexibility. And
what, at the user level, is this something that is,
I think just when you go to make a cast, you can control how far it goes out.
Wow, that's exciting. That's a great feature.
I agree.
Kind of like having a Facebook group and just speaking within that group.
Yes, basically. So when you go in to make a cast, I just checked it. When you start typing and you pick a channel, it pops up and it says like a global icon. It says everyone, or you can do channel followers only. And so the channel followers only is like the narrow cast thing.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it's pretty easy. One extra click to just swap in a channel only mode, and then you're all set.
Okay, so before we welcome our special guest, let's talk about rounds opening up again today for OP.
So rounds, if you're not familiar, is a way for channels or entities to set almost like a bounty on content. And so whoever posts and follows the rules and they like your cast to like approve that it counts for rounds, whatever that bounty is, you get a slice per content creation. Now spamming it, eventually they'll stop liking your thing. So like it's more about quality than quantity. But then if you're fast, just one warning, like if you are a blitz in and you are the first to post, you might say like, I'm getting 1/10 of an Ethereum. Oh my gosh. But like you own
don't get excited.
And so the more slices that happen, your slice starts to shrink a little bit. So don't like, I'm gonna buy a car. Like it starts off really
Don't go
high.
out and put a deposit on anything.
Don't do just know it's gonna shrink as more people fall in. The goal is not to reward huge people, but just give everyone a slice for participation. And it's a really cool platform. There's like a app you can install on the phone to kind of check your rewards. And there's also like different channels that are popping up all the time. And so, but Superchain is this one. Yeah, it's really cool. Like a nice little treat at the end of the day or the end of the week of like showing up. You showed up, and here's a tiny piece. And so it's an alternative to tipping that's kind of kicked off by the channel.
Yeah, we split like a little pile this week that we were like, all right, well, that's like a meal for each of us. Like that's a cup of coffee. Like it's something for your contribution. It's not going to pay your bills, but it's like, okay, you showed up, you built, you talked about what you were building, and guess what? Here's a little bit of reward for doing so. So love it. Love it.
Maybe your water bill, depending on where you live. But yeah.
Depending on where you live is right. What else? We don't have our guest yet. But
okay. I was going to say that it's guest time, but
not yet.
Not yet. Jumped in the back.
Ping him right now just to make sure he's got the right link, or make sure I've given him the right link. So anything else that's kind of on your mind in terms of Superchain exciting things this week?
I mean, it is on-chain summer still, so like I'm grinding on like 3 different projects for that.
Yes.
One is yours through some stuff that you do with Wave Warriors to help affect the orcas. I think the tipping allowance is crazy high compared to direct donations, which, hey, the money's money. And so it's really cool to see the story or the outcome of at the end of the summer, like where you guys will end up for that. And hopefully makes a huge impact, because I think that's just another great story for Web3 that we're doing.
We'll tell people what it is for those who don't know.
So we've created a company called Help, HALP, like help.
Help!
And I know it's fun to say. And so the whole thing is you'll be able to jump very soon. Like the website's almost done. I've been building like the features instead of the actual websites. But you'll be able to just show up, connect your wallet, log in, and then you can make like a GoFundMe kind of thing of like, I need to do something to fix my car, or I want to go backpacking, but I need a new backpack or whatever. And you can make a frame where people can donate to you directly or tip you. And it also, like, that could be simple, but it takes it a step further, but verifying that who the entity is trying to raise, like the wallet matches here, and then the tipping wallet, so that you kind of get all green checks. So it socializes that transparency of that it is going to where it should go to. And then on the nonprofit side, it goes even further to like where they post a wallets file on their website, so that anybody can go and see that like this is an actual wallet that's connected to this entity, because not everybody can just go and edit the website.
Right. And we deployed it last week, and we've already had, I think as of last night, it was 140,000 Degen has been tipped to that wallet, which is going to make a real world impact for this nonprofit. And I will say, I was laying in bed last night and I said to my wife, oh my gosh, I think our motto needs to be don't hodl, help. And I'm texting Brock at midnight, don't hodl, help.
And I replied because I was up working on it. But
Degens, folks. Speaking of Degens, we got our guest here. So I'm going to bring our special guest up on the stage. Folks, we got a treat today. We have the founder of Degen. We have Jacek in the house. GM.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you? Welcome.
Yeah, doing pretty good.
I'm going to just change up the view here. Maybe not.
I wiggled into the. I wiggled to adjust it. Oh, there we go.
Is this one better?
I think it's fine with everyone getting the wide screen. But thanks for doing the show. Been long-term supporters of Degen. It's. I'm not saying it. I got told by Prof Worder to get on Farcaster, but then when I joined in, I saw this Degen stuff, and I was like, this is awesome, because it could really make an impact. Like, it's supporting artists, it's supporting like just general content, and it's a way of kind of a unique way of doing an airdrop, but like over time, and hopefully it creates like an ecosystem of support and things like that. So thanks for being here, and
thanks for being awesome, and thanks for being
true. Yes, exactly. But yeah, I think there's a lot of change that's been happening recently as far as the different kind of seasons, and I think that's healthy. But happy to kind of dive into, I think you made a post yesterday, and so that's probably the most relevant, where people might want a longer form content to kind of get your understanding. So what was behind that, and where's your head kind of at for the near future?
Yeah, so there's definitely like an evolution of tipping going on. And we're just, I guess I say we, it's me and Colton. So it's like two of us And we're kind of just thinking about what is like the next, I don't know, iteration of all of this. And I guess for this month, we tried out something new. We did the open rank model and like really pushing all the tip allowances to like the top 1,000 socially, like, you know, highest ranked people on Farcaster. And it seems like there was somewhat of like a backlash towards that. I do think some of that was a little bit over amplified. So it's tough to see like what is like a true signal and what is like a signal coming from farmers who just want free degen so that they can essentially like sell it on the open market. So it is hard to kind of read into, especially when you're doing airdrops, like what is the correct signal, and what is just airdrop farmers kind of going after you. Plus also like alts are kind of going down at the moment, just all across the board. And so then you have like this amplified message of like people trying to figure out, well, there must be something wrong. So we need to figure out what it is. And so like the easiest thing to point to is like tip allowances have changed this month. So obviously it must be that, which I don't think is like completely true, but I do get that the community doesn't like this idea of, hey, I'm a big degen holder. I've bought some degen NFTs, and I don't really have much out of that. Like, there's no added benefit to that. Essentially, right now, the only way you can do it is either you have like a super power badge from Warpcaster, or open rank ranks you a little bit higher, which is the way it's kind of done now. So I guess the next progression of all of this, I've sort of heard the community out a little bit. And I think one thing that I've sort of learned is that I don't necessarily know who the highest value users are necessarily. So I've just sort of been looking at Warpcast and kind of following like all the big accounts and like, oh, I want them to sort of like spread this this message. But it turns out that I need to figure out exactly like who are the users on Farcaster that are actually holding a lot of degen and that are being like misrepresented, and like they need to have like higher tip allowances, or they need to have some sort of reward for not only like holding degen long term, but also just being like a big wallet or something like that. So I think in this new iteration, hopefully we can do something interesting. There's so many like cool social-fi ideas happening, especially with friend tech kind of kicking it off, at least for me personally, and figuring out like how can we leverage this new sort of meta or this new sort of like social-fi theme, where people want to sort of monetize their content in a way, and what's the right, or their profile or their status or whatever, what's the right way to do that. So now there's like celeb coins, there's friend tech with keys, there's alpha friends, there's all these other sort of like friend tech derivatives of like buy key, bonding curve, like all that kind of stuff. And so I think we want to try out something a little bit different where tipping is great as like a new primitive, but like how can we iterate on that so that our community feels appreciated, and also aligns incentives with us so that they become long-term investors and they hold, and then they let us build for like the next year or the next few months, just like a normal investor would, basically lock up their tokens, and get a little bit, get something also in return for that. So that's kind of the general background of everything. And then like the actual implementation will be, I guess we'll see. It's going to be, I think, something simple. We're just thinking of like locking your tokens. It's going to be like you can probably signal on a particular user. So it's not just like there's a vault and everybody just locks in a vault. It's more like, yes, there's a vault, but you also want to have this idea of like signaling on users. So I don't want to like go into like the details, but essentially that's kind of like the idea, similar to like friend tech, where you buy a key and you signal, but this won't be buying keys. It'll still be like, now that you've locked your token, now you can signal on somebody. And so then that person also gets a higher tip allowance, and so do you. And that's kind of like the general idea that's floating around in our heads right now. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I guess just we want to release it quickly and then get it out there and see what the community says. And if they like it, great, then we keep going this way. If not, then we go back to the drawing board.
Jacek, would you, thanks for such a thoughtful answer. Would you just kind of take us back? Because I think there's a lot of folks that are watching this who are not on Farcaster, they're watching on X or on LinkedIn and all the Web 2 places. Can you kind of take us back? Because you have an interesting path before you founded Degen. You came from corporate, spent some time at Hedgehog in the startup world. Like, talk us through your journey and kind of what led to you creating Degen.
Yeah, so essentially I've been a database developer for the last 10 years or so. Started at IBM, that was very short-lived, went to Credit Suisse because I really wanted to be near finance. So at least I was sort of doing like database work in that area. And I was there for about like 4-ish years. Then I went to mBank, which is sort of like this big Polish bank. And then I went back to Credit Suisse. And then finally, I always wanted to work at a startup. And in Wrocław, Poland, the climate here isn't like the best for startups. So there's not a lot of money floating around the startups in this city. So typically you'd have to be maybe in Berlin, probably like Paris, more likely London, and the most likely is like New York or obviously Silicon Valley. So those like the meccas. And so once COVID happened, I was able to finally everybody was just scrambling for remote workers, and that opened the door for me to apply for a Y Combinator startup, which I always wanted to be associated with them somehow. So I got into Hedgehog, which was a YC company, and I worked there for 2.5 years. And I'd known about crypto. I'd kind of gone down the rabbit hole a little bit, maybe 10 years ago, or no, maybe longer than that, 2000. Maybe 10 years ago. So I definitely knew a lot about why decentralization is cool and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't realize how far things have come. And so then Colton, who was my boss, and now he's going to be here at Degen with me as a co-founder, essentially was explaining to me how all DeFi is working. And it's interesting because we were working more on a centralized product in a way. So it was mostly intended for a little bit for retail at first, and then we kind of pivoted to maybe institutional, but it was all sort of more in the centralized fashion. But I got really into the DeFi stuff, and then November I kind of left Hedgehog. And December, I decided to that was end of October I left. And then December, I started just working on my own thing. And then I just saw things popping off on Farcaster. I'd been on there since last July. And people were just hype. They just really wanted to make a token. That was one of the things that was happening. So I created a token. And it seems like this is the new bull run thesis. It's kind of like meme coins, and just maybe 2 years ago there was NFTs. So it feels like I just kind of got lucky in that sense, but in the other sense of it being thought out and things like that, I think people appreciated that. So
You talked about Degen kind of being the Las Vegas of blockchains, and you wanted the experience to be 70% fun. Do you think it's still fun, or do you think the focus has kind of shifted to something a little bit more serious and more corporate?
Yeah. Well, I guess.
Are you still having fun?
On some days, yeah. I try to have mostly fun days. Actually, no. The last few weeks have been pretty intense. It's a lot of back. I don't know. It's just a lot of stuff to deal with that I didn't realize. Everything from legal. We just set up our Cayman Foundation, so now we have those papers in, and then we want to set up a labs entity. So a typical just setup of like Arbitrum might have, or whoever. So there's a lot of just those legal issues. I still don't even know how I'm supposed to get myself paid. We have some investor money from one confirmation, but still haven't touched really $1 of that. So there's things in the background, which is how do I move that forward? So at least I have, some money coming in for myself as working on this project. And there's just like a ton of that. There's just like things left and right. People are writing to me about partnerships and can we do this, or let me show you this project I'm working on, this thing I'm building. And so I don't think I was that well prepared for like this huge liftoff, because there was like a huge liftoff, and I just basically went from like 5,000 wallet holders in 1 month to like two months later it's like over 100,000, and now it's like over almost 500,000. So it's like a lot is coming at me, and I'm still trying to like figure out like how do I prioritize my time, how do I like navigate this new scenario that we're in. Do I hire, or like do we hire in general? Is this the right time? Do we just kind of keep building these different MVPs and just it's like a lot. So I think there's quite a lot of pressure, because there's like people like screaming and yelling that like, hey, the price is going down right now, and like they're trying, like it's almost like a coordinated attack sometimes. And like there's all like these weird shady people, you never know, like, is this real, is this fake, are these like cabal type people I'm dealing with, like who's on the other end of like some of the stuff. There's also business stuff that everyone's out here just like trying to make money too. So like I get a lot of people who want me to give them a pretty good deal, but it ends up not being a great deal for Degen. And so like now I'm starting to like figure out, well, this is also like a business, and I need to be acting in the best interest of the Degen community. Whereas previously, like the first few months or weeks, I was just kind of like, yeah, let's just do this, let's do that. Like we're all having fun. And now like I do notice that there are people who are like, well, we want to profit off like the Degen hype in some sort of way. And it's not like a bad thing necessarily. It's just like, I understand that like if I was on the other end, maybe I'd be like, hey, let's do a partnership or something too. And it's very like innocent, but on the other side, on my side, it takes away my time and my resources to actually build useful things, or things that I think are useful for the community. So yeah, there's just a lot of different things and context switching, and I'm navigating it slowly. I'm creating a strategy for myself, sort of.
Well, you're doing a great job, and for every fodder that is out there, you have support. Like we're in your fan club over here. But one thing I just wanted to ask, and then I'm going to throw it back to you, Brock, is just like what do you think it was the key to that explosive growth? Because you talked yourself, like you didn't follow like a marketing plan with this, you didn't go to influencers, you didn't spray a bunch of random wallets. Like what do you think that special sauce was that really blew this up?
Yeah, so I think there's sort of like two sides to this. So one side for sure is how we distributed the token. Farcaster was mainly just like great builders, also just great people in the crypto space, like really passionate, all that kind of stuff. So like really like the best mix of people were in there in December. And it's still true, but now there's a lot of like the farmers that came for Degen, there's like a lot of other people. So it's a little bit different now than it was then. So like that was like the perfect moment to do like the airdrop. It was like very like almost like a retroactive airdrop in a way, even though it wasn't. It was like people could still like game it a little bit, but everybody that was participating was like a builder or like somebody in the space that was just like truly passionate. So that, I think having that core community is like key. And then from there, things kind of spread because they spread the message. They had the tokens. Everybody sort of believed in it in a way, or maybe they profited, or maybe it was just like a fun thing. So having them be like the shilling squad of the community was like the best thing possible. And then of course, I think once things started like I don't know, just spiraling and like in a good way. I guess there's also like the other side of things, which I think is also maybe like more like the shady characters who I don't know about and I don't deal with, who are also incentivized to like buy the token, or they got the token in some sort of way, like a meaningful amount. And they're also doing like all like the black hat or like the weird gray area stuff. So Yeah, it is like I never participated in any of that, but I did see it with like the Degen chain, for instance. Like we had just like a massive amount of transactions, and then later once we investigated, like we had more transactions than Ethereum and Base, which is cool. Like we could highlight it and all that kind of stuff, but it did make me think for a second, like that doesn't make sense. And so then we like later on, like after we had the Degen chain outage, sort of realized, well, there's a lot of totally unrelated, but a lot of spam transactions. Like, so somebody's obviously either farming for an airdrop or they're vested in the token and they just really want all the metrics to kind of like line up, and so that they can, yeah. So they're trying to boost the metrics. And so I think even with like wallets, I'd have to kind of take a look, like, are people out there also like spamming wallets for me? Is this like how, so there's two sides to like all of that, but from my perspective, yeah, things were very organic, and I think that's why things just sort of like went the way they did. At the beginning, I had people that like pseudonymous, or just basically like, you know, they wanted OTC deals, and they were like, hey, we're like the OG guys from Dogecoin and so, and like we can really boost your project. And I never sold to them. Like I never gave anybody a special deal, a special cut. But they're like at the first few weeks, it was definitely like a lot of those type of players too that were just very interested in Degen. So like we definitely struck like the right balance, or like we struck some interest like all over the place. And I think by keeping to like these good principles of like not selling tokens to, you know, at half price to like whales, distributing the token more to like retail investors or just like regular people out there, I think that helps just a lot. And we have like the best builders from Farcaster that got exposed. So I think having those strong principles works in our favor. It's something that I don't think a lot of meme coins have done in the past, or at least certainly not now. There's a lot of shilling, and so it's almost like refreshing to have something new in a way.
Yeah. As a fellow builder, like it's that how do you divide your time kind of thing, and I feel you there. I don't know if I've cracked the code, but being kind to yourself, I think is up there. Like it needs to be on the scale at least. Otherwise, it's just quick to get to burnout and feel like you just can't get momentum. So appreciate you kind of being open and honest about all that. To flip it to a different thing, I like to have this wild and crazy idea of like if you had magic wishes. So if you had 2 magic wishes for Degen, where it would just snap your fingers and it would happen, and then 1 magic wish that you wished for from the community, what would those be?
I think from the community right now, I'd wish for, so that's the first thing that sort of comes to my mind is, yeah, I'd really wish or want from the community to be like more active and just doing like weird and silly and fun things. So like going back to like the whole fun aspect of it, all this. So like in the beginning, we had the Telegram chat. There was a lot of cool chatter in there. That's where D-Gentleman sort of came from, and like people kind of saying like, hey, we're D-Gentlemen. And then like people had like this, okay, well, what are we going to call the ladies? So I think they ended up being like D-Ladies. And so like, it was cool. Like there was that whole like cool aura of, and then people were like posting the top hat emoji. And then we kind of got a logo out of that and all that kind of stuff. So I think that was like a lot of fun. And then we had like the base paint, which is like behind me. We had the one, somebody just, basically posted, I think you proposed a theme. And so they proposed a Degen theme and like basically blew it like that out of the water with votes. And so then we ended up having like a Degen base paint. And so I think like Dogecoin did a lot of cool things too. Like they had decentralized dance parties. They had the NASCAR, the Dogecoin NASCAR. They sponsored the Jamaican bobsled team, and then like even post Elon, they were doing like billboards and all that kind of stuff. So I think if our community like really mobilized and just had like a little bit more of that like oomph and less of like price actions going up or down, like, and just more of just having fun and yeah, maybe there needs to be like some kind of community leader. I know Wake is like a big one, and then there's like Yes to Crypto. There's a whole bunch of like big players, but I think we need somebody who's just gonna really, I don't know, just do like throw a Degen rave or something like that. I think that would be like amazing to like bring it more to like the real cat, like just like the normies, like let the normies know about us. And so I think maybe Degen can help with that. And so maybe that's something we could be like, hey, if you're throwing an event, sort of like Nouns, if you're throwing an event, we're not just going to give money to builders, but we also want to give money to like people doing cool in real life events. So that's one thing. And then from like a personal sort of project wish list, yeah, I don't know. There's like so many things going on. Yeah, there's a lot. I don't know what like the personal. I think just finding like product market fit and being, and like I guess maybe like really building the chain up is like something like finding like one app that is just like really fantastic and that's on the Degen chain, and working with those builders or like whoever, like bringing somebody like amazing or like a platform. So I think that's sort of like the next focus. How can we like bring like one great app or platform to the Degen chain that's unique to the Degen chain, that's not anywhere else, that's and like support them like crazy. And there's some cool ones already, but yeah, like a viral one, like something that's gonna really blow up.
Nice. I had a question that I've always curious about, and this is much like DAOs can kind of delegate votes and whatnot if they are too busy. I think a lot of folks early on in like season 2 or 3 felt like they were getting these huge balances and they had to like money gun it away or raffle. It became a burden, like a happy burden, but a burden nonetheless to kind of like distribute everything. And so I was always curious like about what if I could delegate, to an artist bucket or a good cause bucket or people that are kind of creating content buckets, and I could delegate that as like a percentage. So that way it's part of it's on autopilot. And then I almost have like I'd rather have the $1,000 going out to like good causes and stuff automatically, and like by having bucketed kind of things, and then leave me with my $100 that I can give out to individuals, because that's less of a mental friction, but then I'm still doing good with it. Thoughts on that? Just because I think there's a lot of like interesting things that can be done with that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting concept. I think I need to like, yeah, I've definitely heard of that idea, but I haven't really like gone through like the whole idea maze of like how that might work. But yeah, I think that's like a cool thing. I guess I would have to kind of see how it would fit into everything, because definitely like if you're getting a lot of tips and you don't want the Degen, you can potentially maybe like, I don't know, say I'm going to split off 50% or some sort of percentage and delegate either delegate your tip allowance and just give it out to like one cause, or the tips you receive, you could potentially also do the same thing and basically say, hey, I want this going to like one sort of cause as well. So I don't know. I have to think of a good way of doing that. I think for now, that might be cool as like an iteration of everything, especially once we get staking going. One thing I'm thinking about is like splits of your tips. So essentially, if you get a lot of tips, split it with the people who essentially, let's say, stake on you or things like that, and like how you can basically maybe split your income stream that you get from like posting content and getting tips with others, and how that might sort of help with farming in a way, because if somebody's just posting their tips to one person, we might set like a minimum that you always have to get 50% away from people who, let's say, stake on you, and that way people, let's say, go, and if they see it's like just a one-way street to one person, you can go in there and kind of get a big share of that pie, and then make sure it's not all going to there's a lot of like different like games I'm trying to play, and make sure that farming is de-incentivized. And then I do think you're right that making it easier to like go on autopilot in a way, like still be participating and see all your stats, but but more like maybe in like an autopilot mode or something, because we are in the distribution phase. So we have to distribute these tokens. And so like the thing is, how do we distribute them to the right people and not the farmers? Because that's like the key thing. And so
I think it's the folks that are creating value. Because like when I came in, the thing that made me like, I was like, I love this because I've got artist friends, I've got builder friends that like the thing they're building is not like a product that you could go and be a YC kind of company, but they're building like cool tools that we all want to use. So like, how do we support that inflow? How do we support these artists that are, and it's not just like artists that are like, I'm an artist now, and then just spitting out AI stuff, like not AI, whatever, not getting into that debate, but like people that are like putting out cool shit. And I'm like, that's cool here. Like, and being able to kind of fire hose that as I go throughout my day and experience, and then also get that back from me, this like win-win economy. So I think it's important to kind of protect it against folks that are kind of coming in just to extract. It's about how do we continue to snowpile the value so that everyone's, even if I've got, I really would think that it's one Degen $1 it's cool because of the meme, but also because it makes it like tangible of like, hey, I like that. Here's $5 or here's $1 or whatever. And then it becomes, I think, this like sustainable ecosystem where everyone's just kind of giving and taking and it all comes back and stuff like that. So really cool to kind of see that path kind of hopefully evolve and get to. With that though, like how do you differentiate? And again, I don't have the answer, just honestly, like what's your current take? And I'm not trying to say commit to something now either. But like there's the farmers that show up and make like bot accounts and whatnot. And then there's also like people that are day one users that have just joined Farcaster and want to start participating. Like how do we know the difference, or how, like, I think that's like an important thing, because we don't want it to be where, the top X people have it and anybody that comes in after is at a significant disadvantage. Like that's just an interesting thing. Have you put any thought into that?
Yeah, so that's why we're kind of thinking of like this whole staking mechanism as possibly making it a little bit. Well, like one thing for sure is that we like with NFT projects, I think with like Pudgy Penguins or something, for them, I think it's a little bit easier in a way to know who their like community is, and sure I'm sure like a lot of people have bought and sold and just sort of tried to trade it. But I think at least they have like, I don't know how many they have, like 10,000 or 6,000 or whatever the amount is. They have that collection, and that's their baseline community. And some of these guys are paying like thousands and thousands of dollars. So I think the founder of that was saying that like he's gonna be in the Discord and really try and listen and figure out like what does this community want. And I think with the ERC20s, with like the tokens, it's a little bit different, because you have people that, and this is something that I've kind of like gone to just now, is that there's definitely people like One Confirmation who own 5% of the token supply, and they're gonna just be around. They want to hold it, and so like those are like they're super valuable. Like you gotta like listen to them, make sure they're happy with the trajectory, all that kind of stuff, so that they don't end up abandoning ship. But there's a whole bunch of other people who also have like Wake. He's like a whale, and there's all a bunch of like other hosted people who have like a ton of degen, and I think it's like about valuing like our members. So if there's somebody who's new to Farcaster, we also want to help definitely onboard people to Farcaster and onboard people to base. That's definitely like the whole idea of Degen, especially with Farcaster. But it's also about like figuring out that, hey, we do have our community, and there are people who spend quite a lot of money, especially if they're getting in a little bit later or they're getting in now, and that we can't forget about that either. We need to make sure that they're feeling like happy and valued, and that they're getting something out of this whole community as well, whether it's like just being a part of it, or whether it's like a tip allowance, or whether it's like maybe in the future sequencer fees can be distributed, like kind of like Uniswap distributes their protocol fees through staking. So like we definitely want to share in all of that. So I think by having skin in the game, which is what Nick always says from One Confirmation, and figuring out who are our users who actually do have skin in the game, who actually do want to be with us long term, and then focusing on them, I think that's going to be like the next kind of thing that we haven't really done up to now. It's more just been like distributing, and how can we like go like as far as possible and like extend our reach. And now I think it's more like kind of zoning in and trying to add value to like everybody who is in the community, and those who have like abandoned ship or whatever, then maybe, well, yeah, just like help those that are trying to get in as well, like make that a positive experience. So, and I think there's something to like the bonding curves and things like that, where if you are a new user to let's say there's a new influencer that comes to Farcaster, like how do we get that person into like the tipping realm? How do we get people tipping? So I feel like if you are a new user, maybe your tipping allowance or something should be like diminishing, or at least like at the beginning you get like a larger portion or something just to get you started. But then it's like you have to balance the whole farming aspect. Like, will people just spin up new accounts every day? So, and I think part of that is just having skin in the game. So if we can figure out, do you have skin in the game? If you do, and you have quite a lot, and you're a new user to Farcaster, then how do we support you? If you don't necessarily, then I think now it's kind of like you're at the tail end, and yeah, like I think now at this point on Farcaster we're pretty well known. Like Degen tipping has reached kind of everybody, and so we can't be like everybody's like equal in terms of like tip allowances and things like that. And it really needs to be like if you're in it with us, then you're in it.
Yeah, I think we're over time, so I want to be respectful for your. But there's tons of ideas that are sparking off with my head, so I'll try and stop them. But it would be interesting even to be able to buy a boost in your allowance by buying Degen or burning it or staking it or something like that. To then do that. The whole skin in the game thing is interesting. But yeah. I just really appreciate you showing up here. If there's anything we can ever do to either kind of help get the word out or what have you, just let us know, because our whole show is about just making sure people are in the know about tons of different things. So thanks for taking the time and being open and as transparent as you can on your kind of thoughts to the moment, as well as like what got us here and where you're hoping to go. It's been super exciting to hear.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess just on that, also that last comment, I think there's also a lot to just like status and things like Reddit Gold and like Reddit like awards and things, which are kind of like virtual items. I think there's a lot to do, a lot more stuff that can be done in that space, especially in crypto. So yeah, it's interesting. There's going to be a lot here to explore and experiment with.
We're here to support, and we are definitely Degen Maxis. And I would say, any final thoughts to those who perhaps are watching this and are not on Farcaster? Like, any final thoughts or calls to action for them?
Oh yeah, well you definitely have to get on Farcaster. That's like where everybody in crypto is right now.
It's where the cool kids are.
Yeah, that's 100% for sure. It's much better than crypto Twitter, from at least from my subjective experience. You get a little, there are bots now, and there are a little bit more like sketchy individuals, but nothing compared to like crypto Twitter. And if you follow the right people, I think you'll be getting like a lot of alpha just from like what is like the latest technology to what are people like building, what's like the sort of mind share, what has the most mind share right now with these folks, and that ends up being sort of spread out like everywhere at some point. So yeah, you got to be there. I think Vitalik is like exclusive to Farcaster almost now, or like Twitter's like very secondary. Okay, yeah. So I think everybody's doing that. I think Coinbase.
I've ditched like not that numbers matter to me, but I ditched like 10,000 followers for like 100 people, and like I'm growing now, but like to like 2,000s. But like the interaction is more authentic and like actually happening versus like me just yelling into the void and then getting only like bots and whatnot. It's more real, and I hope that we can keep it that way. And things like Degen and all these things that add to the culture, I think continue to make it special. And so I hope that we can preserve that without gatekeeping new users from joining in. Like, it should be the infinite length cool table, right? That's what I hope to do. And everyone can have a seat, but there's definitely ways to lose your seat.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you.
So. All right. Well, what a great place to leave it. Please go follow Jacek and check out Degen. I've already got people in X asking questions on how to get on Farcaster. Let's go, people. This is how it happens. But this has been the Superchain Spotlight. We're here every Wednesday, episode 11. Thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. Thank you, Jacek.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a great day, everyone.